How about now? Hello, hello. Okay, it's working. All right. Welcome, guys, to the stats video for the end of week 3 going into week 4. Yes, the first little bit was done with music, just because I didn't really have anything to say about the efficiency and the overall team stats. But when it comes to the players, I'll throw in some opinions here. And I know that a few owners were asking for commentary during the stats video. So here we are. Ron Simmons, 151.6 quarterback rating, leading the league. Up there with Brendan Platt and Eric Reeves for quarterback rating. And then the lowest is Derek Albright, Alonzo Graham, and J.J. Horton, and Jeannie Ingram. All down at the bottom there for quarterback ratings, but still, don't get it twisted. The best quarterback rating is still 104, which is extremely, extremely good. Alonzo Graham, congratulations to the Piranhas for cracking the first 1,000 passing yards. And Dragons right there behind them with Eric Reeves and Jeannie Ingram. Lowest amount of yards is Derek Albright with 635 yards in 3 games. And then J.J. Horton and Ron Simmons and Ralph Dorsey. And then also Alonzo Graham leads the league in passing touchdowns with 11 touchdowns thrown in 3 games, which is really, really impressive. And then we got Ralph on the shelf Dorsey, Elf on the shelf, Ralph Dorsey. And then we got Eric Reeves, who has also got 10 touchdowns there, but he has 0 turnovers, which is pretty efficient. So does Ron Simmons at 9-0, and then we got Brendan Platt here at 9-1. Least amount of touchdowns thrown is Derek Albright, and then J.J. Horton, Jeannie Ingram. And then we got interceptions, no interceptions from Eric Reeves and Ron Simmons. We were talking about the Don Ron Simmons, and then we got 4 interceptions by Alonzo, the left-handed quarterback, throwing the long bomb, long throw. Alonzo has 4 interceptions, but he had 3 in just 1 game, so that can be deceiving. Derek Albright hasn't thrown an interception since week 1, but he happened to throw 2 in that game. Okay, and then we'll go to completions, 56 completions for Eric. I don't know why I keep calling him Derek. But Eric Reeves, and then Brendan Platt, Jeannie Ingram. And then we'll go to least completions. It goes to Ron Simmons, Ralph Dorsey, J.J. Horton. Most attempts, 81 attempts in 3 games, which is quite a lot. He had 81 attempts, and then 77 for Alonzo, and then 76 for Jeannie. And then the lowest attempts is from Ron, from the Cobras, and then JJ, and then Ralph. When we look at completion rating, 75% leading the league is Brendan Platt after that crazy performance against the Piranhas. And then the least completion rating is Alonzo against the Dragons there. That really was a really good game by the Dragons against them. One of the best averaging per pass is Brendan Platt, and then Alonzo as well. And then actually, surprisingly, Ralph Dorsey is right there with him. Yards per game, Alonzo's averaging the most, already 1,000 yards, obviously. Sacks, Eric Reeve has not gotten a sack, and he has not thrown an interception going into week 4. Let me just double check here. I'm pretty sure the Gators are at home. Oh, no, they're not. They're on the road against the Wildcats, so they'll be going on the road here with no sacks and no interceptions. Let's see how that goes. And then 2 sacks, J.J. Horton, Jeannie, Alonzo, and Ralph both got 2. And then we got the longest play of the year so far is 87 yards. Ron Simmons, the throw, I believe that was to Williams. Caught that catch and just ran it really, really far. And then Ralph Dorsey's longest throw is 68. Fourth quarter comebacks was won by Brendan Platt, and that's pretty much it. He could have had 3 already this season, to be honest with you. And that's the passing. Look into the rushing now. 493 yards. Leading the league is Bullet Train Blaine Higgins. I also believe he has 4 touchdowns, which is second in the league, tied with R.J. Barber. But then it goes Charles, the Axeman Hatchet, for the Cobras, getting quite a lot of attempts. I believe he leads the league in attempts, and he's up there for yards. Grant Williams, 326 yards, right behind him. Then Mark Marshall and Phil Clemens. And then you looked at the touchdowns, or we could look at who has the least amount of yards. Well, it's kind of hard to tell for starters. The least amount of yards for starters, 235 yards in 3 games from Willie Burnside's. Willie Burn your backside. And then Grant Williams leads the league in rushing touchdowns with 5. And then, like I said, R.J. Barber and then Blaine Higgins from the Dragons and the Blue Jays. And then Phil Clemens and Mark Marshall from the Vipers and the Rhinos organization. When we look at attempts, 67 attempts, which is ridiculous amount of attempts in 3 games. That's a lot. I don't know what he's averaging a game, but it's a lot. 67 is quite a few. And then Blaine Higgins, which is the surprise of the league, how many attempts this guy is getting during these ball games. But they're leading for the majority of parts, so they're able to run the ball. And then R.J. Barber's getting quite a few attempts. And then Matt Davis, who is surprisingly getting quite a few attempts, fourth most in the league, but is not really producing for the best running back in the league. They might have holdout issues or contract issues. I'm not too sure what's going on over there with the Gators running game. And then 34 attempts. He is third in the league for yards and first for touchdowns, and he has the least amount of attempts for any starting running back, averaging 9.5 yards a carry, which is way above everybody else. And then, has anybody fumbled the ball yet? Willie Burnside has, and Jimmy Smith has both fumbled the ball so far. We'll look at broken tackles. 30 broken tackles in 3 games. So he's averaging 10 broken tackles a game, which is just insanity. He had 14 broken tackles just last game. Charles Hackett, I like to call him Hatchet, but Hackett is 22 broken tackles, which is a ton. 19 from Mark Marshall. Matt Davis got 19 as well, and Grant Williams with 17. Excuse me. Even 17 broken tackles in 3 games is over 5 a game. So these guys are just bouncing off of people. Or should I say these defenders are bouncing off of him. Yards after first hit, Grant Williams, Mark Marshall, Charles Hatchet, Matt Davis, and of course Blaine Higgins leading the way for that group. And then plus 20 yards. Grant Williams had 3, Blaine Higgins has had 3, and then it goes pretty averaged out with 2. But look at this fullback from the Dragons getting 2 plus 20-yard runs, which is pretty impressive. And then Blaine Higgins with the 77-yard run, which is the longest of the season, and then 76 from Grant Williams. And then it drops off to Phil Clemens at 65, 59, and 58 from Mark Marshall and Matt Davis. And that is it for the rushing category. Let's get right into receiving. Quincy the Legend Drennan, or Quincy Drennan the Legend, however you want to say it, this man is absolutely phenomenal right now. He's just unstoppable right now. He had a great performance against the Wildcats in the first half, but went the whole second half without getting a single catch. So he could definitely have bigger numbers than this. But he has 20 catches, leading the league in catches. And then Shane Clemens, Barry Perkins, Eric Potts, and Andre Watson, George Coyle, Tito Snow, Randy, sweet as candy, Randy Dorsey. And then we got Alan Dwight, Chauncey Preston, and Troy Jackson, Shane Lott, Eric Rogers, Jason Jones, Edgar Plummer, Russell Hutton. Brian Williams is the guy I was talking about, caught that really long pass. And there's quite a few people with over 10 catches. Antrell Adams, Des Edwards, Rashawn Pleasant, Clint Waller. All these guys doing really good. Lots of catches in 3 games. That's actually a ton of catches in 3 games. But again, Quincy Drennan, the legend, is leading the league also in receiving yards with 422 receiving yards, averaging 140 yards a game, which is pretty incredible. And then over 5 catches a game, he's also averaging. So that's pretty impressive. And then we got Andre Watson at second, 4 yards, and then Shane Clemens, Eric Potts, George Coyle, Barry Perkins, Sweet as Candy, Randy Dorsey, and then Troy, your boy Jackson, and Trell Adams. That's my son falling asleep. He doesn't like when I talk about Randy Dorsey. Not too sure why. But hey, these guys are really doing well for these receiving yards, getting lots of receiving yards. You can see them. I'll go through the list real quick while I just rant about some other things. But these receivers are really balling out. They're getting lots of receiving yards, lots of catches, lots of touchdowns. So it's exciting to see these guys light it up. Who is averaging the most yards per catch is looking like Willie Burnside with only 2 catches. He's got 84 yards, 42-yard average. He caught one for a touchdown, I believe. That was a 60-yarder. So that's pretty crazy. And then Mike Dixon with his 3 catches, 100 yards for a touchdown, 34-yard average. And then Rashawn Pleasant, 8 catches, 233 yards with 29-yard average. And then Antrell Adams, this guy is absolutely a stud for the Blue Jays organization. He's got 10 catches, 278 yards, and averaging 27.4 yards per catch, and has 4 touchdowns, which I believe is tied for third in the league with quite a few people that got 4. But look at this. Shane Clemens stands alone at 6 touchdowns. He had 3 touchdowns in the last game against the Blue Jays. He was going against the all-star corner who won week 1 MVP Alex Campbell, the corner for the Blue Jays. He was matched up against and was able to get 9 catches, 162 yards, and 3 touchdowns, which was absolutely impressive, which actually won him the week 3 offensive MVP award. So congratulations to the Gators and to Shane Clemens, playing absolutely phenomenal. Then Barry Perkins coming out of nowhere with a great performance against the Piranhas. He did really well. That's why he's up there. And then, of course, Quincy Drennan, Eric Potts, Tito Snow, Andre Watson, George Coyle, Antrell Adams, Troy Jackson. So look at this. Both of the Blue Jays wide receivers both have 4. Troy Jackson, Courtney Mitchell. That's the first tight end that's up there on the list. 3 touchdowns for him. Alan Dwight, and then Rashawn Pleasant, Randy Dorsey, and then the list goes on. But they are doing really well with the receiving. We'll look at Yaks, Barry Perkins, right at the top with 130, 127, 122, 89, 86, and 86. 2 Wildcats right up there for yards after the catch. We'll look at drops. There's only been 2 drops in the entire league. One's from Adam Baum Warwick from the Gators, and the other one's Andre Watson. Andre Watson's all over these categories. Not You didn't expect him to be on the drops, but he's up there with literally every single category. Andre Watson is having a heck of a season. And then there's that catch I was talking about earlier, Brian Williams with the 87-yarder, which is absolutely crazy. And then, yeah, we can't really go to the shortest there. That doesn't really work out. But, yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's the whole receiving core there. But, yeah, Quincy Drennan looking like he may, take it all. But also Shane Clemens is right on his heel. And Barry Perkins is right there with him. So these guys, let's see, if Quincy Drennan can run away with it or not. And then blocking, we got Pancakes. 54 pancakes in 3 games. That he is just putting people to bed. He is just laying people out in their coffin, digging holes, and just putting them in their grave. When you pancake a man, a full-grown man like that, in front of a stadium full of people, kudos for those defensive players getting back up after getting, knocked down to the ground so many damn times. But we're not going to really go through this. We'll take a quick little glare, but yeah, they dominate their position pretty much on every franchise. And then we'll go to the defense. Tackling, leading the league in tackles is Tim Christman. 6 foot, 206 pounds. He's a 6 year pro. He is this free safety, starting free safety for the Piranhas. He's got 19 tackles. Josh George, free safety for the Wildcats, leads second in the league for with 18 tackles. Then we got Shelton Halt, who is another Piranha, up there with third most tackles at 18, and he also has 5 tackles for a loss, which is a ton. Does he lead the league? He does. He leads the league in tackles for a loss, so tackles behind the line of scrimmage that aren't the quarterback, basically. So he's running these running backs down. Antonio Smith had 9 tackles and a sack in the last game that he played, so that's why he's way up there in tackles as well. Lorenzo Ferguson, another Wildcat, because they've been getting ran on like crazy. People have been running the ball on them a lot, so they're gonna get a lot of tackles. And then Rennick, sorry, Brent Rennick is I almost said Redwood. Rennick is got 16 tackles as well. Another Wildcat and another Piranha. They just are up there for tackles because they're clearly, that's not the category you want to lead in. And then look at this, 4 straight 15 tackles by week 3 for the Vipers. Paul Ziegler. I'm gonna say Ziegler, and then Quinston Hester, Jim Stanley, and Tony the Diamond in the Rough all have 15 tackles for the Vipers. And then Curtis Lindsey up there, Alex Campbell, and yeah, a few other players there. But yeah, mostly Piranhas, Wildcats, and Vipers players. No one has 2 sacks yet in the season. Bunch of players with 1, but no one has 2 yet. So that's exciting to see who's going to get the second sack. And then Darnell Phillips, 2 interceptions there with Alex Campbell. His last performance there, he's 6'4", 254-pound middle linebacker that sniffs out every single play, and he was able to come down with 2 interceptions against the Piranhas, and now ties the league with Alex Campbell, which is extremely impressive because no one else has 2 interceptions yet. Most catches allowed is Willie Schwartz, cornerback for the Dragons. And then Neil Mitchell, the corner for the Piranhas. And then Alex Campbell, surprisingly, led up 12 catches, but 9 of them were against Shane Clemens. 9 of them. So he held his receiver in 2 games to 3 catches, and then just in this last game led up 9. So anything can happen. We'll just go quick through there. We'll go quickly go through the catches allowed. And then that's pretty much it. We can go past deflections. Brendan Mann leads the league with 8. He's 6'3", 192 pounds, and he leads the league in pass deflections. He's just smacking it down left, right, and center. And then Brent Rennick, he was matched up against the legend Quincy Drennan and held him to 0 catches in the second half. He did allow 6 catches and 120-something yards and a touchdown in the first half, but then got, reamed out a little bit in the locker room, I'm assuming, and got his act together and was able to shut down Quincy for the whole second half. Pass deflections. Look at this. Darnell Phillips way up there too, which is extremely impressive for a middle linebacker because everyone else is a corner, and then this one middle linebacker here. Forced fumbles. There's quite a few players that have 1 forced fumble, but not a player with 2. Quite a few players again with fumble recoveries as well, and then fumble yards. Chris Turner was able to fall 3 yards with it, but that's it. No blocks, no safeties, and only 1 defensive touchdown, first in CSFL history by Brendan Mann. Going into week 4, the kicking game, we know about this kicking game, but we can take another look at it if you like. But yeah, the Gators obviously really struggling with only 16% of their field goals. They had 5 attempts, I believe, in the last game that they played, and they only had 1 field goal in the last 2 games before that. So it's not like they've been kicking field goals all for 3 weeks and only got one of them. They were looking fine and efficient in the first 2 games, and then this last game, missing 5 straight field goals. Yeah, put their percentage to 16%. But there's gonna be a big change in the kickers this week. We talked to the kickers and the players organization and players CSFL players union, should I say, and they were all holding out the kickers, and they finally got what they wanted. And I think that we're going to see a whole new performance from the kickers this week, because they are playing for their jobs. Because if not, they are going to be replaced. And there's been big talks about it. We'll look at the extra points and points attempts. It looks like the Piranhas have been perfect, which is pretty impressive, and so as the Cobras with Jason Williams and Dan Martin, both absolutely perfect for extra points, which is huge in these ball games. People have been missing so many. Dusty Williams is up there, only missing one, and then Jeremy Martin and then Gary Evans all up there for kicking. The extra points have been very efficient. Who has had the worst kicking? It was they started their punter in week 1, I believe, or week 2, and he had a terrible performance. Then they replaced him. Same with the Wildcats. They started their punter at kicking for extra points, and he had a terrible performance, and then they replaced him. This is the replacement for the punter. Achoku Mohammed. I am attempting to pronounce that. Benji McNeil and Tony Phillips replaces Achoku Mohammed. But then besides that, it has been pretty efficient. Yes, 71% is a little low, but it's not terrible. So it's not that big of a crisis, should I say? Number of punts. He's only punted it 7 times in 3 games, which is pretty crazy to think about. And the Piranhas have only punted it once in 3 games. So that's pretty crazy to think about, that these teams aren't seeing a lot of 3rd down or 4th downs, and they're just scoring like crazy, right? Then the kick return, best average is Shane Lott, Randy Dorsey, Des Edwards, Mike Dixon, and then Brian Williams. We'll look at kick return attempts. 20 attempts for Troy Jackson. They let up 47 points. And I think he had quite a few attempts just in that one game, bringing it back. Then Antrell Adams, 19. Randy Dorsey, Brian Williams, and Des Edwards. Again, all these guys way up there. And then we'll look at yards. Randy Dorsey leads the league in kick return yards at 528 yards. Troy Jackson's there, but he's had 20 attempts, 500 yards. 459 yards for Shane Lott, 456 for Antrell Adams, and 423 for Des Edwards. A few of them have had 1 touchdown. This Des Edwards here was a real clutch one that almost won them the game for the 2nd time against the Cobras, but Ron Simmons was able to come back. Troy Jackson had a big return touchdown. Shane Lott, I remember that was a big one for them. That was their only touchdown of the first half for a while, I believe it was, against the Rhinos, so they really need that. And then Randy Dorsey, Brian Williams, and that is it. The longest so far has been a 98-yarder from Shane Lott, which is just insane. No one's going to beat that this season, no way. And then that's it for kick return. Punt return, there's only been 2 for the Vipers and for the Blue Jays. There hasn't been a lot of returns. Honestly, there hasn't been a lot of punts like we were showing. Definitely not going to be any touchdowns this season, and not a lot of yards for the punt return game. Then those are the starters, and they are starts, and these are the first downs for the league. So Eric Reeves leads the league in first downs with 34. Then Brendan Platt, J.J. Horton, Jeannie Ingram, and then Alonzo Graham are there for. We can't really look at who's the lowest, because it goes into running backs and everything. So, and then that's it for the stats and the individual stats for week 3. I hope you enjoyed the video. You can watch this back, and I like to make these videos because then, weeks from now we can go back and look at, what they were doing at the end of week 3. Thank you so much if you made it this far in the video, and have yourself a great day, and stay tuned for week 4 games Friday and Saturday. Talk to you soon.